hoy hemos escuchado a Ursula von der Leyen hablando con Zelensky precisamente en Ucrania y hablando del paquete número 11 de sanciones que está preparando la Unión Europea. Un paquete con el que pretenden llegar a atajar el problema que está suponiendo las sanciones, básicamente un problema de elusión, y es que hay quien no está cumpliendo esas sanciones y que por lo tanto no está afectando tanto esas sanciones a Rusia. Bueno, pues hoy von der Leyen ha dicho que quiere que se cumplan. Exactamente, ¿qué es lo que ha dicho? Bueno, pues se lo contamos enseguida en esta entrevista que hacemos hoy con Maxim Mironov, que es profesor de finanzas en el IE Business School. Maxim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Maxim, the EU is preparing the 11th round of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine. One key focus is on preventing the further circumvention of sanctions, as von der Leyen said today, by third states and firms. Is this actually going to work? Do you think so?
I don't know what is going to work, but I can tell you this is the most probably necessary step at this point. We have published with my co-author several papers. First paper we published in January, and we show that Russia is avoiding sanctions by importing semiconductors. So import of semiconductors dropped significantly in April and in March and April after the war, but after that it started recovering, and by the end of the year not only Russia completely substituted all previous import, but it's a significant increase. So this was our first paper. After that, we published a paper about oil export of Russia in February, and we also show that even though European Union introduced several measures and restrictions, but Russia is actually exporting oil at much higher price than everybody thought before, and basically higher than a price cap to many destinations. And this is, was one of the main findings of our papers, and we directly included the message in our paper that the European Union and the United States should push their efforts to sanction enforcement, because if you introduce sanctions but you don't enforce them, there is no any benefits, because as we showed, like Russia basically avoided sanction on import of semiconductors, and Russia quite successfully avoided sanctions of oil export, and nobody was prosecuted. And I also can mention a couple of papers which were published in Financial Times. One was last week, another was like 6 years ago. We showed basically that international companies, like for example, company from Britain exporting semiconductors and other electronics to Russia, basically violating sanctions. So yeah, so this is the main message. There is no point to introduce new sanctions unless the West in general and European Union in particular starts enforcing them. And I'm really glad that European Union is going to at least adopt these measures, because I know my co-authors met with Borrell, these other EU representatives, and they were able to convince the meetings were like in February, in March, that this is the next step that must be done.
Well, Maxim, I guess by your words that you're saying sanctions are not being effective by now?
It's not, no, understand me correctly. Efficiency is not 0-1 variable. Of course, they had a huge impact on the Russian economy. They had a huge impact, and many variables like production of cars in Russia, of electronics, and many other things show that they really had effect. But they're not as effective as it was designed, you know. So if European Union start, for example, Russia is still importing a lot of semiconductors, actually much more than before the war. Russia is still exporting oil at higher price than the price cap. So in some sense, the next step is to increase efficiency of sanctions by trying to punish countries and companies and so who help Russia to avoid the sanctions.
Today, Maxim, we saw Spanish imports of Russian LNG have gone up by 67% in March. Why is this? Should Europe put restrictions too on Russian LNG, which is yet not sanctioned?
I don't remember the exact figures, but I remember what we were looking for 2022 export of LNG. Yes, it significantly increased compared to previous year, and possibly it's a substitution of pipeline gas, which now it's much less to Europe. But in absolute value, it's much less than export of pipeline gas or oil. So in some sense, I think LNG is not the main source. I'm sure it's not the main source of money for Putin, and Russian capacity to produce LNG are very limited. So I think the West should first start fighting with the big elephants like oil and gas, and after that probably go for LNG. But again, LNG is not a big elephant.
Maxim Mironov, Professor of Finance at IE Business School, thank you so much for being in Negocios Televisión.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to speak to you, Maxim. Bueno, nos decía Maxim que las sanciones no tienen sentido a menos que se obligue por parte de Occidente a que se apliquen, porque a la vista está que no están siendo todo lo efectivas que debían estar siendo hasta ahora. Bueno,